So welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically on Tuesday, May 2nd. So we'll open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. I'll ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So before I move on to the adoption of the agenda, I just want to announce that on May 2nd, it's Teacher Appreciation Day. So to all our teachers, thank you very much for everything that you do. And May the 4th is Firefighter Appreciation, and we truly are appreciative of our firefighters. So thank you. So now our adoption of our agenda, moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that the regular meeting of council agenda dated May 2nd, 2023, be approved as amended this date to move items 8A, 8B, 8E, 8M from information to action items. All in favor? And that's carried. At this time, disclosure of interest or at any time during our meeting. We have the minutes of our previous meeting, moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Councillor Kenny, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council April 18th, 2023, and the special meeting of council April 27th, 2023, be approved as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Do we have any business arising from our minutes? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So staff did purchase a half ton. So based on the extras that were on the Dodge from Hinton, that is the truck that we went with. So we'll bring back a report on our total cost, but we'll be receiving that truck probably next week sometime.
Okay. So at this time we have delegations and deputations. Our first is our Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Liana Lee.
Is that mic on?
Just click the mute button.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, I can hear me. Hi, everyone. My name is Lena. I am the Medical Officer of Health for the Leeds Granville Lanark District Health Unit, so we do serve the Tri-County area. I've been here since September, so I'm still within my first year of being in the region in this role, although I had previously also been here as a resident and training under Paula Stewart, who was my predecessor, whom I imagine many of you know. So I'm really here just to introduce myself and say a little bit about the health unit and some of the recovery work that we're doing, and just to say hi, really, to put a face to the name, and to get to know some of the municipalities. I've been going to each of the municipalities just to do the same thing. In terms of myself, a little bit more, so my partner and I were living in Brockville, and the main office of the health unit is in Brockville, but I do come to Smith Falls about once a week, or depending on the schedule, because we do have an office in Smith Falls as well. And of course, I'm traveling all around the region and getting to know the region, which I'm actually really enjoying. Now that the weather is nicer, that's been nice as well. In terms of myself, in professional capacity, before coming here, I was at Toronto Public Health over the course of the pandemic mostly, and then before that, I was at Grey Bruce Health Unit, which is the Owen Sound and surrounding areas. In terms of the work that the health unit is doing, there's a few things that I want to point out. One is that over the course of the pandemic, we did a lot of COVID-19 related response and vaccination work. Now we're pulling that into our regular health unit work, which means that we're ramping up a lot of our usual health unit work that we haven't been doing over the past number of years. So for example, we're going back into schools to do the dental varnish and the vaccination for non-COVID-19, all those other vaccines. We've restarted on some of the other things that are really critical as part of our work. So some of the inspections that were deprioritized over COVID-19, reprioritizing that. All that has been happening over the course of 2022 and will be continuing over 2023. And so one of the pieces of work that we're also going to be revitalizing is working with municipalities on the non-COVID-19 stuff that we always did before COVID-19. So that is something that I want to put on people's radar, as well as working with community partners whom municipalities also work with. So we have a lot of common cause there. The other thing I want to mention is that we will be renewing our strategic plan over the course of this year. And so we will be contacting municipalities and other partners to get some feedback and information about where we are as an organization and where we might go over the next 3 to 5 years. So please keep an eye out for that feedback request. And I think that's really, that's it in terms of stuff that I want to bring. And other than that, just saying hi.
Sure. Yeah. Well, welcome. This is great. I mean, I think maybe a different way of life than Toronto for sure. It's definitely nice and big shoes to fill with Paula Stewart, but I'm sure you said you work with her too as well, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. So you've got the lay of the land and everything else, which is great. So, I mean, we look forward to obviously working with you, and look forward to that future side of it and going back and forth. It's great to see the vaccinations coming back in the schools, all that kind of stuff, like you said too, as well. It's nice to see kind of some of that normalcy too as well. And I think there'll be, I'm sure, lots on the docket for you as COVID-19 has sort of put everything on the back burner. So we look forward to it. You have our support and let us know what we can do for sure.
Yeah,
as far
thank
as that
you.
goes. Yeah.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second delegation is the Smith Falls Library Board, Amanda Foster and Sarah Lynn Martin.
Okay, So hi, we're here from the Smith Falls Public Library, and you all know me, I'm Sarah Lynn Martin. Yeah. I'm the Montague representative on the board. This is Amanda Foster, and we also brought along Amanda Gerwith as well, she's in the audience. So yeah, 2022 was an eventful year. Sorry about this. So we have, which council has a copy of anyway, our year in review. So yeah, so we implemented new hours and, to better fit usage. So we have some more morning hours, basically. Evenings are a little shorter. We've been closing at 7 instead of 8. And we've had very few complaints and very little usage even past 6:30. So I think that makes more sense. People tend to want to come earlier in the day, it seems. So we added 3 new databases. Hoopla, which is becoming really popular, especially for audiobooks, but it also has ebooks and music, television, movies. Generally, you can have 10 borrows a month, but some months like May are bonus borrow months. So there's a list of special ones that you don't have a credit taken off, so you could watch a gazillion of those. We also have Mango languages, so you can learn lots of languages, the standard ones like Spanish and French, German, that kind of thing, but also things like pirate. So, it's an option. And Pebble Go, that's a children's database. So there's, learning about animals, and there's 3 different modules there. We became a fine-free library, so that's exciting. So, basically you are expected to bring your books back and everything. And if, you damage them or they never come back, there is a charge still there. But, if you're a couple days late, it's like, oh, whatever, no charge. But, we do appreciate when people still bring them back. Which is quite standard right now. Yeah. We kind of looked at what other libraries were doing, and so we just followed along with what other libraries were doing in inspiration. So yeah, we upgraded our Wi-Fi because before it was not the greatest. Now it's pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's the fastest in the world, but it's adequate. So there's no issues there. So we've had a bunch of different in-person programs. We had a Wizardly extravaganza that was really popular. We had a Pokemon day, which frankly might have been too popular. We were kind of concerned about fire capacity. So we've had some really good ones, and escape rooms have been super popular. And we've done some that are more families and some more for adults, and some within library hours, some outside of library hours. But it seems like no matter what escape room it is, people will come. And we've been working still on refreshing the physical collection. So we've been getting rid of a lot of old books that were frankly kind of gross and people weren't using. And we've been getting a lot more newer books as well. So yeah, we just recently, we've had new furniture in the teen area, and that was thanks to the Friends of the Library. And we're hoping to have teens, kind of work on that area a bit, make it more teen friendly, but lots of people who aren't teens have been using the furniture. So we know that it's a good kind of furniture, I think. So when we add and replace furniture in the rest of the building, we're probably gonna go with more of that style. And it's, much better because it wipes down. It's not the fabric that gets kind of gross, like some of the stuff on the main level. I want to say chunky, but it's not. It's like a retro, bright color, very fun space. What they're creating. Come and look at it if you want to see. That's it's probably the best. So we've continued to expand the physical collection. So we have a radon detector, and beyond book, it's not just books. There's a few other things. We still have museum passes. We've got Ontario Parks passes. So. The parks, they're becoming a bit like the museums in that a lot of times you have to book them in advance, so you've got to coordinate all that, but they're still there and free. Both Hoopla and Libby have been very strong for their usage, so it seems like ebook use, especially e-audiobook has really been growing. We've been adding a lot to the Smiths Falls Digital Archive, and there are Montague records in there. Not as many as Smiths Falls, but there are some. We've added new programs. We had the Board Game Cafe for a while. We did that for a couple months. We might bring something back with that. We've had an after-school drop-in program, which was kind of slow to start, but recently we've had good numbers. So Montague, so we have 82 known active cardholders as of April 21st, but I will say I think that that's kind of a low number for a few reasons. We've only been separately recording Montague cardholders since last summer, and an active cardholder means anyone who's used the library in the last 2 years. So if you were using a 2-year span, the number is probably a fair bit higher. Also, in this kind of, I wish people wouldn't do this, but it's really hard to keep people from like saying, hey, all 4 of us in the family are going to use the same card, because that really, depresses the numbers. But that does happen, and you're not going to like force somebody to say your kid has to have a card, but it would help our numbers if we did that. And I'm guilty of it too, because sometimes it is easier when you go up to the desk and you have, the kids, like all Jake and Gavin's in my books, and I'm sitting on the counter, and it's like, oh, well, like, we'll just put it under one, and then there you go. Whereas really, like, no, there's 3 of us with 3 different genres here, but yeah. I will say this is a little older. It's probably being close to 2 years now, but we do have a special card for kids. It's much cooler than our regular card, so there is that incentive. I know that many of the teen night participants reside in Montague, and I think some other programs too, but we know for sure, like we know who they are, they're the majority for sure. So we've had students from Montague Public School recently display on magazine covers of Black Canadians they created, so that was like thanks to Sarah Lynn too, but yeah, so we've had some involvement there. So upcoming renovations, so we have the funds for the renovation based on the Class C estimate, and that comes out to a little over 1.2 million. But things are really in flux for all kinds of reasons I won't go into, but we're still thinking we should have the tender documents by the end of May. We anticipate being a temporary location for about a year. The renovation is expected to take about 10 months. And so we're going to have, again, much smaller place. So we're going to have to do some programming off site. So, perhaps some will end up being in Montague. There is plans to fundraise for like the furniture and the shelving for the children's department. So again, there's a lot of options, like there's cheaper options, there's more expensive options, but we're kind of thinking about 100,000 we're looking to fundraise, but bit of a flexible number. Does everybody know the renovations? I know a few of you have been to the library, but for those of you guys who don't know, and for those who are listening online and who are here, a few years ago, when I wasn't our person for Montague, and I was just learning, we decided that we were going to renovate the children's department as it is outdated, and it is not accessible, thank you, accessible to everybody. There's only stairs that get to the 3rd floor, which is the children's department. So that was our biggest concern when we were putting together some plans, is how can we get it accessible for everybody, because I know what it was like trying to carry up car seats, and then I know what it's like for grandparents who are trying to get up the stairs, if they have a disability that we don't know or that is visible. There is a lift that goes from the basement to the main floor, but that's it. So we are trying to basically renovate that space to make it more accessible in current, because we have a beautiful Carnegie Library, so we're trying to keep the integrity of the building, but bring, the new future to it. So that was kind of our goal. And yes, we were given money for the renovation. And honestly, this is where we're at now. Yeah, so I guess the other thing to add with the accessibility is it will also have an accessible washroom, which is important because right now the washrooms are only in the basement. So beyond the accessibility, just like that's a really long trek for people when they need to pee now, which happens with kids a lot.
Yeah. Just kids.
Yeah. And the proper and then the proper station for the mop buckets. So they're not carrying the mop buckets up and down the stairs, and so the kids are up there, and you actually bring the shelving carts up. So there'd be a lot of efficiency from a staff perspective too. So basically after that, just questions, comments.
Sure. Great. I guess one of the things with the money, I agree with you. There's probably a lot more people who have cards out there with. Is there a way that maybe like through the school, you know, also the teacher there, that we like there would like a not a blitz, but or a way that we could like.
Yep. So that's what I did with the hoopla. So that's
Okay.
why there's been a huge increase for that, as well as the teen night. Was that obviously I teach that age group, so I went in and said, hey, and then I talked to the other kids with the same, or the teachers with the same age group. And I do know that like on Wednesday night, they are going to be there for kindergarten night. The libraries, I mean, is going to be there for us to talk about the options for those parents as well. And me and I actually the other night were just talking about the summer programming and how possibly that we could coordinate something here so that parents don't have to drive all the way in and just stuff like that. We've been chatting about. We've been sharing everything. I've been sharing everything that I possibly can onto the Montague page, the Montague Township Talks page, that I can. And then in schools, I just word of mouth.
I think that's a great strategy right there. I mean, I know you've been talking to the kids at the school for sure, and we're getting that. And I think starting with kindergarten, you're going to just see that grow as we go. So I think that's a great idea. I mean, the other side of it, you know, I know when you're going through the renovation things, I mean, we've always been looking, we want to partner as much as we can to see what we can do. And we've also have money in the grant money that we've set up to as well, which I look forward to hopefully that we can do something at the hall. But also when you're closed, I mean, I don't want to speak for council, but I'm sure we're all pretty willing to have some space for that too as well, and anything that we can have out here to also support the library, but also like it kind of groups things together, I think would be fantastic. So I like when you're going through that process for sure. I mean, keep us in mind because I mean we want to make sure we're as helpful and supportive as possible.
Because what we figure is we'll be able to do like, you know, book clubs and story times, probably teen, like the small ones, but like we're not going to be able to do anything with more than 10 or 12 people. So if we want to do something really big, Montague Hall might be
with a beautiful hall. Yes.
That's what we talked about. We were talking about before coming, as some of those bigger events that need a bigger space.
Magician,
or like
something
outside near the park, like those sorts of things that, you know, we can't commit to maybe like once a week doing something, but those, you know, but doing, you know, like bigger events throughout the summer might be an option.
And we still don't really know what our summer staffing will be like. If everything goes perfectly, we could have 5 summer staff, which would be great. At this point, we have 1. So, you know.
And that's not on funding, that's based on resumes.
Yeah, and she starts next week, so that'll be good because she'll start early. So we'll be able to maybe get into schools a little more to promote the summer reading program than we've been able to do in the past, because we've had the last few years summer students not start until like the last week of June kind of thing sometimes. So that at least is an improvement there. So but yeah, we're gonna have somewhere between 1 and 5 summer students, so that really is gonna impact things depending. Yeah, and some of it we're still waiting to hear from funding on, but yeah, lack of applications is part of the issue with funding.
I think I'd say that's everywhere for a lot of those things too as well, for sure. So but it's great though. I think we have a great relationship, and I think whatever we can do to continue that and to continue to help with that. I mean, it's great having obviously Sarah Lynn, who's obviously our Montague resident, living teaches at the school. It's great. So I think we're well set up for success as we go forward. So it's fantastic, and it's going to be a fun relationship as we go forward. So that's all I got.
Anything else?
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to our report of municipal officers. So clerk administrator, acting treasurer, Allison, financial statements and surplus allocation.
Thank you, Chair. So at the previous council meeting on April 18th, council will recall that KPMG presented the 22 financial statements, indicating that we had a surplus from 2022. The surplus seems like it's a rather large surplus. It's based on accrual basis accounting. Our capital purchase were substantially greater than our actual amortization expense, and that's how that works for that. So we are, at the same time as approving the financial statements, we're looking at, we did have an operational surplus of about 243,000. Largely, the amount was just over 127,000 for savings in wages and benefits, as we were down staff and multi-hatting for majority of the year. So we're requesting, the recommendation for surplus allocation is to put that 127 into a salary adjustment operational reserve. We have a compensation review underway right now that will be presented at the next meeting. And not only that, we've been talking about succession planning and setting ourselves up to be successful and prepared for the time when we have staff people that retire. We do have one for sure that will be coming up in the next couple of years, that we have some funds there that we can pull from that were originally taxed for wages, to be able to offset that cost to the taxpayer, to be able to implement maybe a position over a 2-year period or something along those lines as well. The rest of the balance is to put mostly into, the rest is all going into capital. With contingency, we're just replacing the 20 that we pulled for the 2023 budget. We'd be putting just over 196,000 into our general government reserve, which we're trying to build up because we have an RFP out right now for engineering and drawings of our new fire and public works complex for that discussion. Public works capital, 400,000 going in there. Public works equipment replacement, 400,000. Winter control, just replacing the 20. Airport, 10. We do know we're 25% owners of the airport. At this time, Smith Falls has indicated they don't have anything in reserves to help replace some of the infrastructure with the airport, which we know is going to be coming due at some point. So we will obviously try to find grants and applications and do that, but we should prepare ourselves to have some funds there as well. Fire department, 150. We do have an RFP closing tomorrow for a new pumper tanker, which based on the pricing other municipalities are getting, we're expecting it's going to be over budget, but this would set us up to be successful and have the funds to purchase that truck as well. Yeah, so that's the recommendation this evening, as far as approving the financial statements and the surplus allocation for 2022.
I'll open it up for any questions.
Thanks, Ali. And I think I did have lots of questions just to make sure I understood the allocation and how the accrual works. So I thank Ali for dumbing it down and explaining to me very nicely. I guess one question I do have is so we part of the money from the surplus, we were talking about using that for the truck we're buying right now. Is that going to be coming out of the public works capital? Wait, no, not that one there. Sorry, the equipment one. So out of that one there, yeah, sorry, the public equipment is going to come out of that side of it too as well.
Yeah, you'll see it come out of there. So we didn't put a specific line for that. On the budget control report, whenever you see that at the next quarter, you'll see the purchase underneath public works and it'll be in that reserve.
And that's where it's coming out of there too as well.
Yeah.
And I agree with the airport too as well. I think it's we had an airport meeting too as well, and we know, like, you know, as we continue to see that valuable asset and we get more from revenue than we do pay out for it. So it's obviously there's a benefit to having it, but making sure that we're putting reserves. I think that's a great call to make sure that we're building up our reserves, because hopefully strongly encourage our counterpart to the same. So overall, I think it's great.
Thank you, Chair. So speaking on that with the deputy Reeve just said, so we do get substantially more taxes than what we put out, and that was kind of the difference of what we had put out for the year and what that tax kind of was, saying, okay, let's start to put some of those funds back in.
It's great.
If there's no more, moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that Council accept and approve the 2022 financial statements presented at the Council meeting of April 18th, 2023 by KPMG, and that the 2022 surplus be allocated as presented this date. All in favor? And that's carried. Next is our Clerk Administrator, Acting Treasurer, Municipal and Wastewater budget documents.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a document that instead of the budget just being strictly all numbers and a budgetary control report that sometimes is difficult to read, we find that it might be beneficial to have a full document that gives some graphs and some pie charts and kind of high level Cole's notes of where did we get our budget numbers and what was the effect. So that's what this document is. It kind of gives the background of how we've come to where we are with our tax rates, you know, our OMPF being pulled, our policing costs going up over the last, over a period previous to now. So you will see that our tax rates themselves, we had approved a 1.72% increase. The county has a small increase. The total tax rate change in 2023 is 1.959%, which is very reasonable in a world that has 6.9% CPI. So overall, if you had a $236,000 assessed house, the change in total taxes you'd be billed would be $47.86 for the year. That go to your township, the county, and the school board. We collect for all three and obviously disperse accordingly. So this document shows where your taxes are going, where the revenues are coming in, where the expenses are, all of those good things. It tells you what capital projects we're working on, the value of the capital projects, and then also our reserve schedule, how our projects are being funded, and then again, just our budgetary control report that's all numbers. So this is just for council approval as information, and we're going to post for the public. And some of these diagrams will be included in our fall tax notice as well to give people an idea.
I'll open it up for comments. I think that was great explanation. This is information to go out to our residents that'll assist them in understanding how the taxes work. It's our level, county level, education level, as well as on the water and wastewater side. So I think that was an excellent report. So moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council approved the 2023 final municipal and water wastewater budget documents as information, and that council direct staff to place the documents on the township website for information. All in favor? And that's carried. Next, reports of committee of whole. Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of April 18th, 2023, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? And that's carried. Turn my page. Recreation. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny, that council approve the minutes of the Montague Recreation and Culture Committee meeting of March 23rd, 2023, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? And that's carried. We have no petitions, bylaws. Our first is bylaw 3986/2023, Council Code of Conduct. So moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Abbas, the bylaw 3986/2023, a bylaw to adopt a code of conduct for the council of the Corporation of the Township of Montague, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this second day of May 2023. All in favor? That's carried. Next is our tax rate. So moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that bylaw 3987/2023, a bylaw to establish and impose tax rates for the purpose of raising the general municipal, county, and education levies for the year 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this second day of May 2023. All in favor? That's carried. Motion and notice of motion action items. So our first item is A, Montague Fire Association Open House.
Yeah, I brought forward a few, just like always, and I think, I mean, obviously this is posted everywhere, but it's just one of the things to talk about. This is a great thing that the fire department's going to do, and like come out and have fun, all that kind of fun stuff. So once again, I'm sure we're posting on our medias and we're doing all that kind of fun stuff and everything else, but it's just another thing that we should bring up during council to say, come out and meet the chief and everybody else, and it'll be great. So awesome.
And B, Rural Frontenac Community Service press release.
I just want to let this, so this is another one of those things that kind of we talked about at the county too as well, but it's another one of those things that if everybody's looking at it, but it's just another carpool thing. And the idea is just it's one of those community things where if you need a ride somewhere and someone else is going there, you can kind of go onto that site. So it's another opportunity in our rural municipality, in our rural areas where it's tough maybe to find transportation, that this is another option that we are connected with too as well that we can utilize. So I guess it's being, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of already being done there, but it's kind of now being sort of like brought in, like
Yeah.
expanded into Lanark and everything else. So we kind of discussed it a bit at our county meeting, but it's another sort of a thing when people say like, how do I get, or is there an option? It's just another tool to help our residents that maybe that might have an appointment somewhere in Ottawa that they might be able to carpool somebody else with, and along the way too as well. And they kind of share some of the gas money if they need to. Anyway, so it's just another service that it's just nice for us to know, especially as municipal leaders, when people bring that up, we do have an answer for them too as well. And maybe it's in the back of our mind. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that as we're talking about that too as well.
Okay. And item E, Municipality of North Perth, the school bus stop arm cameras.
This is another one too as well. This has been an active one that we've talked about at the county. So once again, I think it's just nice when other municipalities are supporting it and saying that they're looking for that. It's been a big chat at the county and pushing for it too as well. There's been presentations at I know at the Upper Canada District School Board. I'm not too sure what the Catholic, but I know at the Upper Canada School Board, and they're on board for it too as well. It's just trying to figure out how it's going to get implemented and funded. But it's another positive thing that, you know, it always blows my mind when I mean, if Brandy was here, she'd probably tell you that, where I always tell people stop for buses, but when you talk to bus drivers, it is like not the case. So it'd be nice to actually have that, to just once again keep the safety there. But it's nice when other municipalities are stepping up and also kind of supporting those things from around the province to say, hey, this is an issue. Maybe we should get the province to help chip in for that. So anyway, just another note of that.
Because it's showing that it's not just within Lanark County that this is happening. It's across Ontario.
Yeah, it's an issue everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And M, April 26, 2023, County Council media release.
Once again, our media release, two things on it that I'd like to talk about. I think I brought it up last time, is with the homeless prevention stuff. And so since that last meening that we talked about it here, the province came out and actually granted us another like $1 million, almost $1 million to go towards those type of funding and those type of services. So once again, if we have people that are like at a point where they're having such a hard time because of their paying a bill, or they have an unexpected breakage in their house, like their septic goes and they literally are in the poverty side of things and they can't afford to do it, they're going to lose their house. There is options that we do have
through the county.
Through the county, yes, not through the, I mean, but once again, we pay county taxes for it, but through the county, you're right, yeah.
It's not here they would apply, it's through the county.
Yeah, through
Yes.
the county, yeah,
Yeah.
but us, once again, to make sure that we're saying, hey, talk to our staff, or let's talk to get you connected to the county, so we have those opportunities. So we want to make sure that if we hear somebody that's having a very hard time, or something really affected them, that we do have something that we can help them or suggest them that they may not know about. So I think that's a big one. And the other one is just about transportation again. Lanark Transportation. And I don't know if people know about Lanark Transportation because we don't have wheelchair taxi, a private company that does that. But Lanark Transportation is what we have, our own wheelchair taxis that can take people to Ottawa if they need to, or if you need to go somewhere for a medical appointment, or if you're in town and it's local and you're in a wheelchair. It is a great, and the staff are amazing. I've used it myself for a family member. And I remember I had to do that for the same family member in Ottawa. The cost was very expensive with a private. This is very reasonably priced. And also, once again, if you're financially strapped, it can be subsidized. So you may have those medical appointments you don't know how to get to. We may have people out in our community that can't get there, and they're financially strapped. And like, how am I going to get to my appointment? There could be an option that could be free, or it could be a couple bucks for them to be able to get to their appointment and back. So one of those things where if you're hearing people about having those issues, it's good for us to know that stuff so we can at least offer that support. So I just want to make sure that's all shared, that we're getting from the county level, because this county level is where a lot of those social services stuff comes from. We want to make sure it gets filtered down to us too as well. So
it's something that I do share because I
yes,
am joined with all of the municipalities in Lanark County, so that as things get posted, I can share them along. But maybe it's something we can even add to our website, just so that, because when you share, it gets lost with all the feeds, but maybe it's something we could ask staff to put a link on our website.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Maybe that would assist.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, so now I have no unfinished business, other business. So before we adjourn, are there any questions of our audience? And how about online?
Nothing for me.
Okay, so moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that bylaw 3988/2023, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed the second day of May 2023. All in favor? Carried. And then I gotta put glasses on to see. So, moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny that council adjourn the regular meeting of May 2nd, 2023 at 6:41 p.m. until May 16th, 2023 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay.
George, ready?
Where do you want to do shirt, Jim?
I never wore this one before, so we're not on there.
Are we good? Yeah, okay. So welcome back, everybody, for our committee of the whole meeting. So we started with the opening meeting and our land acknowledgement. So the council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located, and this meeting is being held as the ancestral unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. So we have the adoption of our agenda. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the committee of the whole agenda dated May 2nd, 2023 be approved as presented. All in favor? So we have no disclosure of interests, no delegations, and our first report is Allison talking about some of our grant information.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. So this evening in front of you, and we'll probably make this report a more regular kind of information item, so everybody kind of knows where we're sitting with some of our grant funding, because it's not included in our budgetary control. So at the least, we'll bring it on the quarterlies so that everybody knows what's going on. So we do have a number of grants and funding that we're working with right now. So Ontario Trillium at Rosedale. So if anybody's been by Rosedale today, you're going to see that they've started tearing out the parking lot and started that progress. So the basketball net is ordered and our accessible swing is ordered, and they are all to be installed prior to June 30th for our Canada Day events over at Rosedale and the Forget-Me-Nots. the Canada Community Revitalization Fund, so that put in the Wi-Fi over at Rosedale, the fencing, and the last little bit of fencing, half of that will be paid for, as well as the generators. So the generator's supposed to be installed next Wednesday, reliant on they can get in there next Wednesday, otherwise it might be pushed a week or two. But the generator, if all goes well, will be installed next Wednesday as well, and then we will be fully functioning over there whether we have power or not, which is exceptional. Investing in Canada infrastructure programs, so ISIP, we have 100,000 of which we fixed the roof, the offices that got damaged by the water from the roof leaking, all of our new windows, council has approved. So we're waiting on the approval from both the province and feds to use the other 60 for flooring, accessible doors, both accessible doors. And until that time, we're using the one below that, which is the COVID funding, to do new flooring and the one accessible door out front and the accessible door at Rosedale. Celebrate Canada, so we got $1,320 for Canada Day. We'll be using that for our Canada Day celebrations. Grants that we've applied for that we're waiting on responses is the Senior Community Grant, which would provide programs to older adults about abuse, events to reduce social isolation, iPads for connectivity for seniors. And we would be doing that, if we were successful in that grant, we're going to carry it out with the township, the Forget-Me-Nots, and the Recreation Committee. So it'll be a very collaborative initiative that we take. Summer experience program, we were notified just yesterday, I think, that we didn't get the summer students. But we potentially did leave some of our grant funding if we did. And we potentially could, we're going to bring back a report on some things that maybe we could look at doing in a smaller scale this year, like maybe a 1-week summer camp at Rosedale Hall or 2 weeks or something along those lines. We'll bring back some costing and some information for council at least to decide if they'd still like to go ahead with a little bit of items or not this year. The monarch habitat restoration, we got notice this week that we were successful, and they're going to do the habitator area that we had spoke about at Rosedale, where we're taking out the asphalt and doing that. So we meet with them on Thursday to discuss that project. The main cost, the only cost for us on that so far will be labor. The rest, rental of equipment, all those things are covered by the monarch restoration. The other thing we'd like to discuss with them, and also with the neighbor, the Reeds, potentially to eliminate that issue of children going to the fence with the horses, is maybe do a habitator. I want to make sure that it's appropriate plants, it won't be bad for animals, up there too, to kind of have another buffer of an area that wouldn't, attract people to go to the fence. So we'll discuss all of that, but we'll make sure to reach out to the neighbor as well, because we don't want to plant anything that would be a worse issue than children going to the fence with items. Canada Summer Jobs, we still have not heard anything in response to that. And then the Inclusive Community Grant. So we did apply to our consultant to produce an age-friendly community plan for future grant applications. Hydro One grant, we did receive notice back that we didn't get it for the walking trail at the 22 acres, but there's a grant that closes in June, another OTF, that we will be applying to do the walking trails, accessible washroom, and potentially something else depending on the funds. But we would also be looking at potentially bringing a report to council of stripping the topsoil, making a sliding hill for the winter. Insurance is fine with that. Putting gravel in for the parking lot, and starting that kind of 22 acres, and maybe doing like some with the parkland fees, doing the parking lot, and then maybe do some beach volleyball or courts, things that are inexpensive and kind of maintain themselves in a sense, but that would be free to the public to use. So we will be bringing something back for kind of a brainstorming idea of council as well, because we'd like to have projects that we all agree on, that we're ready. So if grants come up, sometimes you only have like 2 weeks to apply, that we're all in favor, and we can make sure that we don't miss any opportunities for funding that we could get.
Wow, that was a lot of great information, a lot of really good stuff. I'll open up for council to any comments or questions or.
I just think doing a great job applying for all these grants. And so far, we've been getting quite a few of them back in return. So thanks very much for all the hard work, Ali and staff.
And it's nice to have the updates so we know where we're at. That's great.
Ali, not to toot her horn, but she does a great job. She essentially pays for herself with all the grants that she gets for us and is able to push forward. She makes us money, so I just got to give her a big pat on the back and say thank you very much for everything you're doing for Montague and all the residents.
Thank you, but again, takes a team of everyone, so it's everybody here. But yeah, so we have support from council to do these things, and all staff is supportive in when we get those applications, jumping in and assisting where they can too. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. We're moving in the right direction. I think even sometimes when we have the ones that we don't have, like the summer experience program, we can learn from those too as well. Like we should look at that and say, okay, so maybe how can we get that next year? And I think it's maybe what ideas that we put in place this year to make sure maybe we're still able to do something for the kids. I like that idea of something small, because then if we apply for that next year, it might be, oh, we're already doing something, and it might help us finalize that for the final year for something better, because it shows that we didn't walk away from it, that we are really interested in it, and we're trying to do it on our own too as well, which is huge. And I like, the ideas of the 22 acres. I think that's good. That's good planning as far as looking at the ways to start something and that can help, utilize themselves, especially where we're at right now. So those are all great discussions, and I think I think we should be excited to look at those discussions that the staff are looking to bring forward, because it's going to be just basically making a better community that we have, and we're already seeing that better community with some of the investments we've done at Rosedale Hall through the grants too as well. And I'm excited for the basketball court and the new pavement there. But I mean, when you look at the play structure, everything else has been there too as well. I think we're seeing once again just everything is livened up, and it makes it for a better community. One random question about basketball net. Is it one of those ones that kind of goes up and down, or is it standard right at the 10 feet?
I believe it's one of the adjustables, but I can double check.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I know the adjustable ones are awesome. Especially when the little ones start, and then and you can get it up to the other side. But that'd be interesting if it was. But it'd be that's once again another great thing. So and great kudos from council. But let's not get Ali's ego too big though. So on that note, moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Kenny, that council accept the grant information update report presented this date as information. All in favor? That's great. So we're going to move on to the Ali again with the capital projects and where we're at and where we're going.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this will be a report that if it doesn't come back monthly, it'll come back at least quarterly to keep everyone updated on what's going on with each individual capital project. So that whenever you're asked by ratepayers or ratepayers are wondering, there's a document that's going to advise of what we're doing and where we're at with them. So because we did get our budget done January 17th, very early, we got out to RFPs. The public works manager did a great job of getting those documents out right away, and actually had responses back from contractors saying it was only us in the county out at that time. So we did receive some exceptional pricing on some of our stuff. So the tandem plow has been ordered. Expected delivery is April 2024 at the latest. Our roller attachment's on the grader. If you see the grader out and about, you'll see it because it's in use already. The reflectometer has been purchased with Drummond North Elmsley. We're just waiting for them to invoice us our share. The storage building, that discussion will only happen if the complex is not moving forward. So code to get the surface treatment is to begin in May 2023. Now they're thinking potentially June 4th. I think beginning of June now is where they're kind of looking. Things have been really wet. McGuire, the legal and survey. So we did approve the agreement and we're moving forward then with the hydro. We'll be able to lock in that pricing that we received last year. We had a year. So we'll make sure that we have that more competitive pricing and moving forward on that. The Pinery alignment, we're just working on the agreement with the landowner, and that'll be coming back shortly, if not the next meeting, probably June. Microsurfacing of Kelly Jordan was awarded, expected to start in August, same as Ford Road. The pay equity review will be at the next meeting. It was originally budgeted for outsource of 10,000. Other municipalities were seeing anywhere from 20 to 30. Council had kind of requested, could we do it internally based on previous experience? So council has a full document in front of them that will be presented to the public and council next meeting. Facilities, buildings, replacement engineering plans. So the RFP closes in May and we'll bring a report back in June to council based on pricing. The zoning bylaw update, the county just approved our OP at the last meeting, I believe. So we will be working on the zoning bylaw the update now that that's done. The asset management plans, we've approved and signed the agreement with Public Sector Digest, and we'll be beginning this month on that as well. The second Armadillo was purchased and is already in use. The fire tanker and water rescue, it closes tomorrow, so that'll be on the 16th for council. And the roof for the old post office, we've already got McKay's booked in to put on a cedar shake steel shingle, so we'll never have to look at it again. And then potentially we're hoping that we can get that building cleaned out once it's not leaking and open it up to be able to store basketballs, maybe a little library in there, and actually have a use for it over at that area. So lots going on, and so far we're on schedule and things are looking good.
Thanks again, once again, Ally, and I'll open it up to anybody on council that has any questions or thoughts. I see one, yes.
And because it is in our agenda package, it is on our website, so our residents are able to go and see this. And they'll know then exactly where our capital projects are going, because this is going to be ongoing as an update. So it's great.
I guess my only question for council is, would you like to see it monthly or are you good with quarterly? Like through the summer, like monthly maybe, because it changes a lot in a month. Obviously through the winter months, there's not gonna be a lot going on.
That was I was gonna bring that up because I thought quarterly, and I'd open up to the council. I mean, like, we have this, I mean, it's a document to go back to, really. I mean, it's coming back to basically say this is where we're at. So I mean, like, to see it monthly, I mean, I hear you, even in the summer we could, but I mean, I'm okay with it quarterly, because at that point, we're gonna know if we're on track or not. Like, I'm fine with quarterly if everybody else is fine with quarterly, or if there's anybody like it for monthly.
It fits in with the rest of the reports that come to council
Yeah.
quarterly, so.
Yep.
So it makes sense. So I think that's we got a good consensus there to make sure that we're.
And I think quarterly would be great, and like you said, that for the most part, this is a living agreement that everybody can kind of go back to and say, okay, well, what's on the agenda, what's going on? Well, they're doing this in August, and if it happens to be a bit before then, you can say, well, it just happened to have time earlier. Like, here's where it was fit in, and then getting in a bit earlier.
It's just an update, and it gives an update too as well, though. And I think it's great for information too as well. Like, I think if before I was on council, if you told me that, the fire tanker out there was $565,000, I thought you'd be a lunatic, but that's what those things cost, right? I mean, I would have never thought they would cost that, but I mean, if you don't know, because you don't know that industry, I think it's good to know that and to see what they actually cost. So I think quarterly is great too as well. So once again, lots in the go, and it's fantastic. So I guess I gotta put that part in. So moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Reeve Jennings, that council accepts the 2023 capital grant projects budget update report presented this date as information. All in favor? So next on the docket is once again Allison, just to give a little update on the ice storm of 2023, I guess.
I know, for anybody who's around in 1998, it's not an ice storm. Now, so the ice storm / heavy rain, you'll see that I noted it as. So it's just kind of an update to give to council. I know that we tried to keep communication out to the public and to council as well as what was going on, but we thought it was kind of beneficial or nice for us to bring forward a public report of the timeline and kind of what was going on as far as the municipality. So that's what's in front of you this evening. We did open Rosedale Hall on April 6th. We didn't get a lot of people attend. I don't know if it's because during an emergency, maybe we don't have, some people didn't have internet, maybe they didn't have access to social media and things like that. So it might be something, moving forward that we have to figure out a different way to get that word out. I know, so we know that we've learned some things from the event, and that we got to look at alternative options as the emergency management group for that. So we did do something a little different than normal. We did open up to do 2 brush drop-off days. We had about 85 loads. So the first Saturday was not, it was only about 15 loads, I believe. And I think the second Saturday, people got more word of mouth, things caught on that it was coming. We will have a cost to mulch. We had some of our own brush that was gonna need to be mulched anyways, so we thought, let's load it all on there. And then when we do get it all mulched, we're going to be providing the mulch free to the residents. So we'll mulch it and provide it for people to come and pick it up, and you recycle and use the byproduct. So that is the plan whenever we get that done. The impacts, obviously, there was a lot of tree debris. We had some washouts, some culvert washouts, a number of calls for carbon monoxide, people running their generators too close. So we're going to do some kind of pub ed on generator safety and all those good things. We had some pictures. To be honest, the crews were fairly busy to be taking photos. Even our fire department, though, we really do have a great team of people here. The fire department asked what they could do to help, and they helped offset Public Works, let them go home, get some sleep, and assisted. So great job by them all. And you'll see, like, we did have some costs to obviously fix some of our roads and things like that. We'll have more of a cost on the next budgetary control report of where we're at. Nothing too substantial, more overtime wages, some gravel we have here, so it wasn't actual extra gravel we had to bring in. And then you'll see the notices and that we had out to the public and things like that. So it's really just for information to advise council on kind of what we saw, what happened, and then we'll also take this and have a meeting and say, what could we do better? Those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the ice storm of the 90s, but it was definitely something that caused some havoc for sure. So I mean, I think we did some good things. I'll open up the council to any questions or yet, George.
I just wanted to say that, I was on council a couple other times. Sometimes I say that, but I never was updated as I was by the staff this time. Everything that goes on, we seem as councillors and even the public, but we seem to be informed right away. And that really, really is nice when we're all got our own work fields and we get this information. Even on the weekends when I wasn't expecting anything, Allie was sending stuff out. So I just want to say again, thank you to Allie and the staff.
That's a great group we have for sure, yeah.
So as the last slide says, thank you to our Public Works crew, to the fire department, and to Hydro One, also to our own staff, and also to the residents of Montague. The number of residents that stepped up and helped their neighbors, it's just fabulous. And that is what this community is all about. And I want to say thank you on behalf of council to our residents as well as our other departments.
Well said, Reed Jennings, for sure. Yeah. Something else? Or, sorry,
I had a question. I recognizing that probably it cannot be answered now, but I think like some of the road washouts we had, like just highlighted like more of a like long-term and ongoing problem. So is there like any sort of plan to assess like that and see if there's something that can be done so it doesn't happen in the future? Or
Yep. So this is a prime example, and this is why we would like to do these reports and take photos of events like this, because there's actually disaster mitigation funding. So whenever your municipality has events like this and you have these issues, whether it's maybe that you need upsized culverts, all those type of things, you can apply for funding if you have this type of information. So that's why it's important for us to track these things and keep record. An example is in another municipality that I was in, we had a culvert washout. We applied for disaster mitigation. They actually removed a 3-foot culvert and paid to put a 6-foot, $125,000 culvert in, and it eliminated all of our problems. So absolutely, we do take this into account.
okay, is this all the photos we have, or is there more? And these are just
We
a
have
few to
some,
highlight?
yeah, we have some additional ones, but I wasn't going to fill the whole.
No,
report,
that's
yeah.
fair. Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was like, if you're seeking, just, I recognize that virtual is not one of the photos that's here, and I know that's a problem we have every summer.
We do have virtual, but if anybody has photos, by all means, they can send it to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more? Yeah, Joe?
Again, like just to reiterate everything everybody else is saying, the people in this community are great, and they really do come together when things don't go the way as planned. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who you can see people jockeying generators from house to house to try to prevent flooding or bring out some of the water that was in basement. So it was great to see that the community does come together when Mother Nature is not as friendly as she should be. So for that, thank you very much to everybody.
Yeah, very well said. I think that's it is a great community for sure. And these are pretty exceptional or extraordinary, I guess, types of storms too as well. And lots of municipalities, lots of roads too as well, went through a lot of abuse too as well. So I think getting it back on track, and I think the learning lessons that Ali talks about too as well that we have, and we're also getting better prepared to have Rosedale Hall set up and everything else. And I think when that becomes, once again, like anything else, people know that that's actually available. Like it's always been for years that it wasn't known that it was available. Now we're going to be able to say, part of that learning is going into it saying, hey, this is available. So when these things happen again, then hopefully that people kind of get ingrained into it. And I think we're working. I know the boys are working diligently to get the roads sort of back on track, especially in the budgetary requirements that rural municipalities have to deal with too as well, as far as that goes. So kudos to all of that and the learning lessons that we have too as well. I think it's fantastic. So
Just a follow-up with reference to getting it out to the residents for Rosedale Hall with the generator, et cetera, maybe in the the newsletter that goes out with the tax bill, that's something, because of the number of older people in the township that don't have access to internet and don't use, they'll read that, and that would be a way for them to know that there is a safe place for them to come if it's needed.
that's a great suggestion. Yeah, a big splash that's saying, hey, listen, like we have a plan now. If there's a night where you can come here and there's water, and because one of the questions was, is there water, and there wasn't potable water, so that might have been a hang up, but there will be. So I think that's like those are all the things now they know that if it is, I think that's a great suggestion to have it like on the newsletter to get that information in. So
Just have one question when we're talking about all this, maybe it can be brought up again, is what about if there's room someplace to install a couple showers someday? And if something ever went on again, there was 2 or 3 days, people could come, have a shower, because if you get 2 or 3 days or a week and you haven't got no place to shower, it was just another thought we could bring up maybe sometime, and maybe there'd be a grant for some of that.
great, and I'm sure Ali's got an idea here. So
Yes, thank you, Chair. So we have spoke about that, maybe potentially taking a stall out and doing the new complex is gonna have some showers.
Oh, okay.
So we're hoping that it's gonna be set up kind of in the sense that we'll have like a reception front, but be able to have some of the showers, because right now even we opened up the shower in the fire hall for anybody who needed it.
Oh, okay.
So we're hoping that with a new complex that would be set up with a generator as well, that we would be able to offer some of those things to people as well. Right now we have one and it's very small, but we still offered it to anybody who wanted it.
That's good.
So I think it's absolutely a great idea. If we don't move forward with the complex, that we look at something at Rosedale, absolutely.
Another great part of the learning that they know what we can do for planning. So it's great. So yeah, great. Out of another crazy situation. So any other comments or that's great. This is moved by Reeve Jennings and seconded by Councillor Abbas that the council accept the 2023 ice storm heavy rain event report as information. All in favor? Yes, passed. Now that everybody switched over to the hockey game and is not paying attention to us anymore, we'll finish up our meeting because so at this point, I guess, is there any questions at all? That can be very quick so the hockey game can happen. Tom?
When you're talking about the ice storm there, even people that had internet, I had internet. But when the power's gone, I've got no internet. So sending something out on internet doesn't give anything to people that don't have power.
And I think that's a great point. I think that's what we even talked about today.
Yeah.
We need to get when we have the generator set up at Rosedale Hall, is getting it out so people know about it. Like, I think the great idea that Reeve Jennings brought up was about making sure it's in our newsletter to say, so that next time that happens, that people, because right now it's not the thought to go there, but I think that's where we're getting to. I think those are the learning lessons we even learned from some of the other issues that we had in the past. And I think that'll be, you know, we need to get it in people's thought. It's just like the large pickup day and everything else. As people get accustomed, they know that that's the service, they know that that's there. And it's like, wait a minute, I can go and get water from the hall and everything else. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's, anything else to add, or is that?
So, yeah, and I appreciate that, Tom, and that's where we're saying, like, we can post a social, and if you have data, maybe you have access if it's on your phone or something. And I know during the windstorm last year, we did wellness checks. Fire went out and advised people, and they were sending them to Rosedale, which assisted as well. But with the ice storm, we were trying to keep as many of them off the roads as possible at that time, and they were also going to calls of their own. So, but I completely hear you, and I think that those wellness checks, that's why they're important as well, is to go and make sure that we do those. We usually pull out the outage map. This time I think it was everyone. But on the windstorm, we pulled out the outage map and we hit the roads, and they went and did wellness checks all along those roads. So I hear you, and we're taking it all in, and just to be better prepared and to better serve next time.
Yeah, I think the idea of if you know you're gonna have something available there, if you lost power, then that's knowing for the residents to know, which would be great, because when you lose power, you're not gonna get any information, because your radio's dead, why don't you go sit in your car, and you got no internet because you need your power to run your internet, to receive internet.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the other thing too, as well as we're seeing too, as well as our internet, as far as data plans get better too, as well. More people even have it at least on their devices, so we don't ever want to not send things out like by social media, because there's lots that'll have it like that handheld device that is still working. But I think like the mitigating stuff that I think that you can appreciate that setting it up so people are aware of it. I think is going to be the. I mean, we're leaps and bounds from where we were a couple of years ago with this thought process, and I think in a couple of years from now, we're going to be very well prepared. And as we continue with over there, hopefully that we're on the right track for that. It's just going to be, we're just going to see continued progressive and continued good things for all of that.
I agree. It's working great, and it's needs to expand as you find the problems. And maybe when you do put it on the internet, some people will have internet, and you can tell those people, well, hey, if you know your neighbor doesn't have it, tell them, because you know where your neighbor lives, and you know who doesn't have internet usually.
And who might need that help, and I think that's a big part of it too as well. And that's a great thing about our community too as well, is we have a lot of people that do that. So that's a great point. So Maggie.
Well, on the same line, does that big sign work when the power's out?
No. Not currently, no. So our current generator doesn't power that sign. Potentially, whenever we change things over, it'll be different with the new complex. But
with that said, Rosedale Hall is open, just leave it on.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently it doesn't, but again, as we change things, it would make absolute sense for that to work in that perspective. And I just think it's great, and all these ideas are great, and we'd like to hear from the community of what could we do, right? And even with Rosedale, once it has a generator, we could provide chili and hot things to people and all those.
Gerald cook it for us.
That we would, you could have a hot, like something hot to eat, come in and do whatever, and we could have a movie up for the kids, whatever. So all of these things are in our head of what we can do better as we progress and get the tools that we need to also do that. So we're excited to get the generator put in over there, of what that's going to mean, because we've had 2 of these events in less than a year. So
I think the suggestions are great. I mean, Maggie, even that suggestion there, like, as we move forward with the complex and everything else, and we can generate that, that's a great idea to utilize that sign, because if everything is dark and that sign is say like, you have help here, that'll really stick out. I think that's a great suggestion. I think once again, as Ali writes it down, it's it's good to have those suggestions coming in from people, because I mean obviously the staff are fantastic, and they have a wonderful council that's also helping them too as well. But I mean the residents, people have ideas. I mean, it's great to hear from them, because it just makes us give us their chances.
Is the garage not on generator?
yes,
And if it is, why is that not on there?
it's not hooked in. So
Tell
again,
us, electrician.
we have a really
I hooked that up right there at one time, so I know.
we have a really old generator that needs to be replaced, and that, again, if the complex goes forward, will all be the project.
That's okay. I was
That's- yeah,
just
that's
curious
all.
why it wasn't, and that was all.
Okay.
That's fine.
But I do really think your suggestion is great to just let them know in when we do our taxes that, hey, if in the case of emergency, we have power there. And that's just one thing that's everybody should know. And by that point, it'll be all functioning. That if everything goes bad again, we have one place in Montague that will be running. And if you need something, that something will be there for you and you have a place to go. Because, you know, some places, some people didn't have that option. And, you know, and it was, again, we say it's great that, you know, people had generators or people had, you know, opened their house to their neighbors and became a community. But it's nice to have that community hub that, you know, if you want to do more or be able to help more, you can say, okay, let's bring some food. Let's make it chili. And we can feed some people.
And there's a bar there too, so it's a.
In a pinch, that might get you through.
I digress on that. Anyway, so that's the Maggie.
I know, it's still first period. Don't worry about it. When you were talking about the grants, when we don't get a grant, do they tell us why we didn't get the grant?
So, yep. So most of them you can follow up and say, why were we unsuccessful? Usually the response you get is that we had a abundance of applications and there was ones that better fit than yours. And that's going to happen because sometimes to apply for a grant, we're stretching to kind of fit to see if it'll work. To be honest, even getting the parking lot paved is not a normal grant that you would get money for. So for the summer experience program, it was mostly around culture and recreation. They gave it more to people that have full-time racks and have their own libraries where we were going to share with libraries that aren't ours. So there was other organizations that fit that better than us. The hydro one, they just responded saying they had an abundance of applications, but we'll apply to that one again. And maybe next time we'll be successful, and if not, we'll just keep applying till we are.
Yeah, because that's a great point, because I mean, like the one for there probably wasn't enough, and they had that money there, so that we were able to get the parking lot done. But sometimes it's like Ali says, there's an abundance of it, and I think for the rec one too as well, it's that's why we have to learn from that and say, well, what small things could we do, so when we go to do it next year, there's a showing that we're doing stuff. And they go, okay, we didn't get it last year, but this is what we did on our own to try to help kind of work towards that. And that might help us get the next one next year too as well. So we don't want to like step back and say, oh, we didn't get it too bad. How can we learn from, maybe do something that'll help us maybe in the future get the next one too as well. So I think those are great points and great questions. So the first period. Okay, so if there's nothing else, this is fantastic. So I guess we'll end our meeting. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, the Committee of the Whole meeting of May 2nd, 2023, now be adjourned at 7:18 p.m. All in favor? Very good. Thanks everybody for once again a good discussion and meeting. And go Leafs go, and see you later.